Something to remember is that you have the ability to graph any equation you could ever want to just by using a table of values. And the idea behind this is that we may not have covered in our class how to graph a parabola like this. I know it's a parabola because of the x squared, but if I can make a table of values with x and y, then I can graph it by just making a list of points basically. So I'm going to start by picking -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. And basically, if you don't know what to pick, just start picking numbers and plugging them in. And then you'll be able to see, based on whether or not they fit on your graph, whether or not you're going to have to pick more points or not. So if I plug in -2, helpful tip here, always plug negative numbers in with parentheses, especially if you're using a calculator. This is -2 with a squared on the outside, which is very different than having that squared on the inside. So this gives us +4 plus 4 plus 5, which is 8 plus 5, which is 13. So -2, 13, that's off of our graph. So let's try -1. So -1, if I square it, is 1. -2 times -1 is +2. 1 plus 2 plus 5 gives us 8. That's closer and is actually close enough that I'm willing to put a dot on my graph just a little bit off of the top. If I plug in 0, that gives me 5, because that 0 squared is 0, -2 times 0 is 0. So I have the point 0, 5. Plug in 1. I get +1 minus 2 plus 5, which gives me 1 minus 2 is -1. -1 plus 5 is 4. And then plug in 2. So that's 4 minus 4 plus 5, which is 5. So that's the point 2, 5. And so we actually, I guess, needed a slightly bigger grid to really be able to graph this well. We could have used like a 10 by 10. Because if we kept going, if we plugged in 3, we should end up getting 8 again, because a parabola has symmetry. So we can connect these dots in a U shape, and there's our graph. But no matter what equation they give us, if we have no other idea of how to graph it, then our best way of doing it is to make a table of values and plug it in.